My name is Bob Figular. I am the president and owner of a company called Mariners Learning System. In 2005, we're the first school to be approved by the Coast Guard to teach in an online format. Since that time, we've had over 65,000 graduates, and right now we have over 10,000 students who are actively engaged in our programs as we speak.
So I know you said it's important to you that you're still pushing forward. I just want to know a little bit about what your goals are for the future.
Well, to be here when the dust settles is my number one goal. One thing I know for sure in down times is good companies get better and bad ones go away. And it's really caused us to look internally. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know how it works out, but right before this, I was going forward with a major initiative with Miles to address some business opportunities that I had seen that we were going to spend the next year to start working through. Some of that has been accelerated. For instance, one of the conversations I had with the Miles team was that we wanted to be able to offer our captain's licensing students online proctored exams.
Right.
Now, this was really planned for the fourth quarter of this year. This was all before the virus and everything happened. It was more of a, let's look at what we're going to do over the next 12 months, not let's look at this thing today. Once the virus started really having its impact, I realized quickly that this had to now be moved up quickly. So I reached out to JP and the other people on who helped through me work through these things. We accelerated the program in 10 days. In fact, this afternoon I expect to be pushing it live. Made a investment on spec. So the Coast Guard has always frowned on the thought of online testing. To date, I don't know whether they're going to like it any more than they did yesterday. I'm having a difficult time getting them to engage with me and have this conversation, but I'm sure that they've got a lot of other things on their plate as well. But the Miles team was able to take an idea and in less than 10 days, flush it out, and I expect it to go live button tomorrow after I review everything this afternoon. Wow. So that was a good example where we had to change some of our business ideas to match what the current environment is. So that was one piece to it. We're really looking at the website. We're really expanding upon the capabilities of the website. A couple years ago, we had an initiative, mobile first, and moving everything over to the web in a cloud-based solution. We were 90% of the way there. The only thing that we didn't have on the web for various reasons was my accounting system. And we've now started moving forward with getting that moved over as well. So those are a couple of the pieces that we did. We're also developing an app. So one of the things that people on the East and the West Coast don't realize is in a lot of the central states, internet access is limited and spotty at very best. I just spent some time in Colorado, and my GPS didn't work, my cell phone didn't work, I couldn't get internet connections. These were big problems. So working with the Miles team, we're also putting together an app for our students that will allow them to have access to their courses even when they do not have access to the internet. And the basic way that thing will work is once you logged into the course, it will, you have access to it. Let's say that you're on an airplane traveling, you're 35,000 feet, you have no access to high-speed internet. You can go in, you can read, you can do a quiz. When you get back down and you are within a connection, a Wi-Fi connection, everything will sync back up for you. So that's another area that we're also moving forward on. I would say, if anything, the plans that we had in place prior to this have just been accelerated. They were based on good business, sound business practices. And although today is really scary because none of us know what's going to come next, I've always found that making decisions when I'm afraid or fearful of something, the results are almost never what I want them to be. And that's why we're going to continue moving forward.
So now I don't know how you've felt with all this going on, but have you had any fears, and how have you been able to kind of mitigate that, make sure you are making sound business decisions?
Yeah, I've been a small business owner for over 32 years now.
Yeah.
I've been through, I was a dot-com guy.
Hmm.
I was one of those guys that got caught on the bubble. I was taking company public in 1999. My first company that I built on a $5,000 credit card, rang the bell, did all the stuff up in Wall Street. And just as this stuff was going on, the dot-com bubble burst, and I was in it.
Yeah.
I was around in 2002 for some of the downturns, and as a result from that, that's when we started this business. Then we had the 9/11 attacks, the recession, 2007, 2008. We had
Right.
gone online in 2005, so another good move on our part, and then
Yeah.
currently. So for me, what helps me the most is I don't stand idly very well, and I don't go backwards very well.
Right.
So there's a mantra that I try to live by. It's pretty simple words, but sometimes it can be tricky to live by. And it goes, if it's to be, it's up to me. And what that means in my world is, if I see
Mm.
something I disagree with, either correct it or accept it. No bitching, whining, or moaning.
Gotcha.
So
Yep.
in this particular case, there's a lot of things that I cannot control. I've never, in 32 years as a business owner, I've never once had a state shut down businesses and
Yeah.
the government and everybody else. I've never had that. So I can't control that. But what I can control is what I try to focus on. So I try not to stand like a deer looking in the headlights. For me,
Mhm.
having some sort of forward motion allows me to work my way through some of the concerns and the realities of today's world.
How are you kind of turning this into opportunities?
So going based on what I said before, good companies get better and bad ones go
Yeah.
away. We're getting better at what we do.
Right.
Um, I think one of the biggest things that I'm the proudest of is the results of being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah.
So our customer service department and our employees have really taken it upon themselves to notify clients of changes, give them updates
Mm.
when we can, being very, very proactive. And the responses have been really great.
Yeah.
So the proactive piece to it has worked out really well for us. Um, we've also found from a business perspective that there are a lot of companies that are going in reverse. They're retreating. They believe that they need to save their money for whatever might happen in the future, and that may be true.
Right.
But what I have found is when there is an economic downturn or a concern within the industry, that's when I actually want to increase my ad buys.
Right.
So in today's world, we do an awful lot of advertising in social media. We also are in Google, paid ads, things like that. Prior to this issue, we were paying anywhere between $1.25 and $1.75 for somebody to click on one of
Right.
our ads in Google. Those
Yeah.
same costs now today, because there's less competition for those keywords, now it's cost me 75 cents for a keyword. So I'm getting more value for the dollars that I'm spending.
Right.
And there's a little bit less clutter out there because many of our competitors have retreated.
Wow. Okay. So it's
Uh,
it's really good. You guys are pushing forward right now.
yeah, well, and
Definitely make.
also on the social side of it, we've been promoting a lot of our blogs. When we advertise, I always like to advertise with the idea of people doing.
Mm.
So since we're into boating and things like that, and a lot of the coast, a lot of stuff has been closed down, getting our stories out there, getting our customer stories out there, sharing educational knowledge
Right.
for no fees. Those are all things that are really being well received out there, and those are some of the areas in which we're trying to promote our services.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. Now, do you have any advice that you would give other business owners during this
Yeah.
time?
So my advice is based on experience. And the one thing that concerns me is I don't want to come across like I have the answers, because I don't. I don't think
Right.
anybody knows the answers, but one thing for
Mhm.
sure, as I said before, experience has proven to me that being proactive and not reactive
Yeah.
is really one of the most important pieces to this. Lead from the front of the pack, not from behind. Your customers and your students will appreciate that. Don't abandon sound business practices. If
Yeah.
something made a lot of sense last month, it probably still makes a lot of sense today. It's just a
Yeah.
little scarier allotting the dollars in the budget necessary. I don't think you should be reckless, but I don't think you should throw away those contingency plans that you may have had in the past. That's
Right.
something else that we try to do is, although I can't look into the future, I always try to have contingency plans. What would I do if? That way, if a event such as this comes along, I've already got a plan in place when I was thinking clearly, and I wasn't afraid of what my next action might cause. So I think that is important. I really try to avoid those knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah.
Try to isolate myself. You know, if you watch the news every single day, and I happen to be a news junkie, it's really, really scary out there. So I've limited the viewing of my
Yeah.
news sources and resources so that I can just concentrate on what's going on around me. Things that are going around me in the world, I can't control.
Right.
So those are the things that keep me awake at night. The things that I can't control, that's where I'll lose some sleep. So I'm really trying just to focus on the areas in which I can make a difference.
Right.
Also,
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who would normally recommend this, but I also
Yeah.
think that business leaders need to look at the stimulus packages that are out there
Yeah.
from the government. We've just gone through an exercise with the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. It just opened up on Friday. This will allow a business owner to have a forgivable loan for up to 2.5 times their monthly cost as it's associated with payroll and things like that. So,
Right.
and if you go and process this in a period of time, the loan may be forgivable as well. So
Right.
there are a lot of programs out there. I'm not a paperwork guy,
Yeah.
and all these programs revolve around forms and applications and paperwork and things like that. But I really do believe that it's an area where, as a business leader, you owe it to your customers and you owe it to your employees
Right.
to look out and see what some of these stimulus packages may be able to do for you.